For this training, we'll look at what exactly large language models are. Generative AI and large language models are the AI systems capable of generating content based on inputs and prompts, often utilizing deep learning techniques. So, a few examples of these would be ChatGPT 4, Dolly, Gemini, which is Google. Google also has a vlogger tool, Copilot, as well as Claude. Every single day, it seems like there's a new generative AI tool coming out into the universe of applications available to us. So there's definitely been more and more generative AI tools created out there. So for generative models, there's three different types of generative models. There's the generative adversarial networks, GANs. There's variational encoders, VAEs, and then there's recurrent neural networks, RNNs. For GANs, you have what they are they're machine learning models that use two different types of neural networks to create new data, and then instances that resemble training data. So it takes some training from here, and it creates the information. The variational encoders are models explicitly designed to capture the underlying probability distribution of a given data set, and then it generates novel samples from there. And then for RNNs, we have the sequential data to solve common problems, see language translation as well as speech recognition. So for the examples of these, so for GANs, we have medical imaging and video game design. Variational encoders, we have fraudulent transactions, medical imaging, as well as text and music generation. And for RNNs, we have speech recognition, language variation, and video activity recognition. So, large language models are designed to understand and generate human language. They're built using the deep learning techniques, particularly the neural networks, and are trained on vast amounts of text data. So, they are able to perform a wide range of natural language processing or NLP tasks, such as text generation, translation, summarization, and more. So some key characteristics of the large language models is the scale of complexity. So these parameters enable models to capture intricate patterns in language and generate coherent, contextually relevant text. There's also the training data. So these include books, articles, websites, and other sources. So the more sources that it is trained on, the better and more understanding it will be of the languages. And then the transformer architecture. So this allows for efficient processing and generation of text. So it also is very particularly effective at handling long-range dependencies in text. So that's why it can give you a long-winded response rather than short snippets. Some applications of large language models. So we have the chatbots and virtual assistants that provide customer support and answering queries. We have content creation. So those are generated articles, reports, and creative writing. Language translation. So this translating text between different languages. And also educational tools, so assisting with the tutoring and providing personalized learning experiences, or PLEs. However, there are some limitations of large language models. So understanding the context. So some LLMs may struggle with maintaining context over long conversations or complex topics. They may actually lose track of a subject or provide inconsistent responses. So it loses the main topic. Ambiguity and nuance. So it has a difficult understanding of the nuanced language, jargon, sarcasm, and this can actually lead to misunderstandings. There's also a knowledge cutoff. So large language models are trained up to on data up to a certain point, and they do not have real-time knowledge updates. So, for example, Copilot is only trained up to August 2023. So at the time of this recording, it's over a year old of information. There's also a bias. So, since LLMs learn from vast amounts of internet data, they can inadvertently learn and reproduce biases presented in that data. Creativity and originality. So, they do not truly understand or innovate. So, their outputs are based on patterns that they were trained on. So, they're really not that original and they're really not that creative. That's where the humanized aspect comes into play with these tools. There's also ethical concerns. So there's concerns about misuse of large language models for generating misleading information, deep fakes, or harmful content. These LLMs, to run these LLMs, they are resource intensive. So the training and running large language models requires significant resources, which can be costly and environmentally impactful. For example, Microsoft actually has reopened and they're going to be reopening and restarting 3 Mile Island in Pennsylvania. And the purpose is to solely uh, provide energy resources to Microsoft AI tools. Dependence on quality data. So poor or biased training data can lead to poor and biased output. So garbage in, garbage out. So if it does not have really good quality data on the topics that you're discussing or trying to get information from, then it will not really give you good information as well. So we do have at New York Tech, we do have a data classification matrix, which is a really great tool to discuss what is public data, restricted data, as well as confidential data. So public data is press releases, course information, and research publications. So this is data that you could probably find elsewhere on the interwebs as well as Google and on our website. Then there's confidential data. So confidential data is data protected by the state or federal privacy regulations. So you can think about this as HIPAA and FERPA, as well as data protected by confidential agreements. So this is social security numbers, maybe home addresses, additional data information. And you never want to put this information into an AI tool because that allows a security risk and then allows other people's information to be sent elsewhere and used on the dark web. Restricted data is all institutional data that is not explicitly classified as confidential or public, but should be treated as restricted data. So this is the gray area of our data, right? So we want to take a step back and think about the purpose of utilizing this AI tool with this data. So this data we'll go through this a little bit further, but this data you may have to actually scrub of any identifier information as well as make it more anonymous in order for it to be used in a AI tool. Or you may want to not even include this type of data in an AI tool even after removing all of the identifiers that you can. So a couple more ways that you can secure your digital footprint is you can use anonymization techniques. So before submitting the text for grammar checking, you want to anonymize or alter names, locations, and identifiable details within the document. So you want to make sure that it does not know a lot of information about you, but it knows enough to be able to provide you a response. You want to use hypothetical scenarios or anonymize the content to avoid a context to avoid revealing specific strategies or technologies. You do not need to have a very specific example. You can actually use hypothetical scenarios as well. You want to understand and leverage the privacy policies. So this is where you want to review and understand the updates in the privacy policies of large language model providers. Ask the service provider about the data retention and deletion practices to assess the security of your data. So you saw that I did that with a sample privacy statement, but you want to make sure that you understand fully where your data is going. You can also seek secure alternatives. So for sensitive discussions, opt for platforms that offer end-to-end encryption to ensure that conversations remain confidential. There also are opportunities for you to examine the free version versus the paid version um, of a tool, because sometimes the paid version can provide more of a secure uh, encryption and secure alternate to the free version. So that's something that you may want to also examine is, okay, how do they secure my data? How am I secure with the free version of this tool versus the paid version of the tool? And if you're going to be using the tool a lot, you might as well go with the paid version to keep you safe.